So this is chapter 5, lesson 1. We're going to start polynomials. The first lesson and second lesson should be done together as a pair. So when we start learning math, it's kind of like learning a second language, especially when we're using algebra. And so when you're approaching algebra, you are going to be learning a lot more terminology and a lot of new things, but we're tying in what we've used already. We're going to be tying in exponents, we're going to be tying in integers, we're going to be tying in rational numbers and irrational numbers. So it's stuff that you've used already, but some new things as well. So when we are using algebra, we are using symbols to represent an unknown value. Okay, so the symbol could be a letter, just like in Pythagorean theorem we use letters. The symbol could be something like theta. We use that when we were dealing with our angles. Anything can be a letter. I would recommend that when you're writing your letters or your symbols that you are using your cursive writing, so your handwriting letters, so your X and your Y are curvy, not like that, because we mix that up with a time sign. So sometimes we can use these to make algebraic expressions, and basically what an expression is it's an equation without the equal sign. Okay, so something like A plus B plus C is an expression because there's no equal sign. Something like 7x plus 3 is an expression because there's no equal sign. 13 minus 2y is an expression because there is no equal sign. X squared is an expression because there is no equal sign. Now if we said something like this, 3 plus 1, that's an expression. However, if I go equals 4, it's no longer an expression because there is an equal sign. It's called an equation. So when we're looking at expressions, we can classify them depending on their number of terms. And a term is an expression. I know we're using the same word over again. But it's an expression formed from the product. Remember, when we're saying product, we're meaning multiplying. So from the product of numbers and or variables. Okay, so something like, if we go back to what we had before, so 7x, this is one term, because this is like 7 times x. If we look at another example we did, 13 minus 2y, we have one term, and then we have 2 terms. So every time you see an addition or a subtraction sign or a plus or a minus sign, it's separating a new term. So we could have something like this, negative 8x squared y cubed n to the power of 4. Let's say there's only one subtraction sign, so this whole thing together is one term. Okay, I'll just do one more example. So let's say we had 7x plus 13 minus 2y. Well, we have 1, 2, 3 terms. Because every time we see an addition or a subtraction signifies the start of a new term. So when we start combining terms using addition or subtraction signs, we make polynomials. And so polynomials is just a general term for different I guess for all polynomials, but we have more specific terms too that we'll do in a second. And so we could have something like 3x plus 7. So we have 2 terms. That's polynomial. Actually, I think I'm going to flip to the next page and we'll go through these a bit more with some more examples. Okay, so they get different names depending on how many terms they have. Monomial, I want you to think of like a monocycle, or I guess it's called a unicycle. So, or like a unibrow, or monotone, those kind of words. So mono means 1. So monomial means there is 1 term. So some examples of this are things like, this is 1 term. So some examples of monomials could be 2x, negative 3y, 14, 8,000, 22x. Anything like that, these are all monomials because there's only 1 term. Next we have a binomial. So if you think of a bicycle, bi means 2. So binomials have 2 terms. So things like 2x minus 3y. Okay, there's the 2 separate terms. X squared plus x. 2 separate terms. Negative 10 y squared plus x. Again, 2 terms. Okay? So, this one's tricky. Trinomial. Well, if you think of a tricycle, tri means 3. And so trinomial has 3 terms. So maybe 4r cubed plus 2r squared minus r. 1 term, 2 term, 3 terms. If we look at another example, negative 3a squared minus 1 minus a to the 5. And I'm just kind of making these up as we go. So 1 term, 2 term, 3 terms. 1, 2, 3. Keeping in mind the sign follows the term that's behind it, okay? Lastly, poly. So poly means many or multiple. So these have 3 or more terms, so 3 plus terms. More than 3 terms, okay? So something like, this one's a little long, negative 12 v squared plus 6v to the 4 minus 5v plus 7. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So it is a polynomial. It doesn't get any other special name. We could have something like this. 5v minus 2z squared plus 8y minus 11r plus 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. So it just gets a general name of polynomial. Doesn't get a special name. So I'm going to ask you to complete this table, and we are going to check it together tomorrow. You should also watch lesson 2 tonight.